our 12 Weeks of Christmas Empowerment Series at Team Beauty Official. We are officially at week 10 of our 12 weeks. And let me tell you how excited I am for this episode. Before I cut to the chase, I just want to thank all of you for coming this far inside of our empowerment series from the very first week to now, week 10. We are officially in the month of December. So whether you are a listener that has started listening from the very beginning or you just started watching us, thank you in advance. And let me tell you that you are in for a treat. In these empowerment podcasts, we like to talk everything life, family, business, self-love, everything that has to do with improving the women that we can be. And today is a very special day because I have the honor and privilege of having a very special friend. She's like family to me, all the way from Oklahoma, visiting and being able to do this podcast with me in person. Miss Ara Gonzalez, how are you, my love? Welcome to our podcast.
I am super honored and excited to be here in the podcast room. Definitely worth the drive, so I'm super excited to be here.
Yes, so you were telling me it's your very first podcast.
Yes,
How do you feel about that and that it's a team beauty?
Yes, I was actually telling Jerry that I've always wanted to do a podcast and I love listening to podcasts. So being here, it's like I'm just ready and excited to just pour out to whoever's listening, to whoever's watching, and just catching up with Jerry. I haven't been able to see you in a while, and it's just exciting to be here with you and doing this podcast together.
Well, thank you for being a yes, and thank you for sharing this moment with me. Let's get into it, Ara. So for those of the people that don't know you and your background, tell us a little bit of your story from, before you found Team Beauty, where is it that you were in life? Give us a little bit of that background.
So before Team Beauty, I was a full-time college student and I was working 2 part-time jobs. I want to say I was maybe around 20, 21 years old, going through a lot. As you know, my parents had gotten a divorce. They went through a divorce. And during that time in my life, I was just pretty much doing a lot of things to keep myself occupied. I was obviously going to school, working 2 part-time jobs. I was involved in CrossFit, just involved in many different things to keep myself occupied during that rough time in my life. So I knew that I wanted to do something that had to do with helping people and something that had to do with obviously enjoying something that I love while making money. So yeah, there was something that I wanted to do, something more. I just didn't know what it was. I didn't know how to get started or where to even go, what to look for. Until the Team Beauty opportunity was presented to me, and then that's when everything kind of started unfolding for my life.
Yeah, so 21-year-old, right? 2 jobs. When you said yes to Team Beauty, what was it? If you could think back in that 21-year-old body, what was it that you said, this is it, this is what I'm going to do? What was it that attracted you to the project?
Yeah. Well, for those of you who don't know, the listeners, Jerry and I go a while back, many years of us knowing each other, even before I started doing the business. So Jerry's sister is my best friend, and maybe I met her sister when I was 16, 17 years old. So I've known Jerry and her sister for a pretty long time, and I want to say that I've had the honor to just watch you guys, run the business. I even helped out even before I was fully committed to Team Beauty. And just really what inspired me was watching you both grow into the person that you guys were becoming. Obviously, I had my best friend picking me up from school in a BMW. I was just witnessing and observing so many different things that I was like, man, like this is what they do as for a living, and I didn't really see myself doing it because I was like, I'm not a salesperson, right? I've never done something like this, but I did notice the lifestyle and the freedom and what money can do, the opportunity, the different options, what it can provide for you. So that's what really got me interested is seeing the person that you guys were becoming on stage and just watching you guys be a boss lady, and be a strong independent woman. That's something that I longed for, and that I knew that maybe this could be something that could launch me to become something that I would want to become.
Wow. Well, and for those of you that don't know, Ara is actually one of the original Ride or Dies. Okay, she was one of the 7 that said yes to the opportunity whenever this idea of Team Beauty came to life. And January of 2015, so we're celebrating 8 years, right? And we were just chatting that, it's like this time is like in a blink of an eye, it has truly gone by. And so we've been able to be chipping at it and working at it together. And one of the topics, Ara, that people ask, we threw out a poll out there and we're like, what do you want to know, right? And one of the things that people want to improve in, get better at is, how is it that I as a woman can balance this work, life, mom, boss, relationships. Like there's so many things in our life as women that, I could say we want to tackle, right? Like we're
multitaskers. We want to do everything.
Yes, especially if you're a mom, you're breastfeeding, you're on the phone, you're cooking, you're doing a bunch of things at the same time. And we could sometimes feel this overwhelm of, okay, like I can't grasp it all. And so let's talk about that, right? Like, how is it, right, that we can have that peace in our life, that everything's going to be okay regardless of the chaos, in our life? What would you say that it comes down to when we have that little question in our brain that says, right, like, you can't keep it together, or, it's not perfect, and you genuinely do want that for yourself?
Yeah, well, I mean, we have, my husband and we have, I want to say 8-9 years doing the business. And something that I've learned, obviously you only learn through experience and through time and, just in the game, so throughout these 8 years of me doing the business, doing multi-level marketing and just learning so many things, I wish there was a correct answer for that, but I've learned that we can do it all, but at some point in our lives or at some point of what we're creating or what we're working at, I've learned that there's not really no such thing as balancing everything, because through my experiences, when I focus on my business, I know that I'm going to drop the ball somewhere else, whether it's in, as a mom, as, a daughter, or as a friend, or as in my marriage. So that's taken me a while to understand, but I think I now understand that you have to prioritize what you value the most and do that. So like if your business is important to you, then you have to be okay knowing that you're going to drop the ball somewhere, and that's okay. Because you're prioritizing your business. Now, if you're going to prioritize your marriage, then of course other things are going to slack off. Doesn't mean that it's going to be like a huge drop, but there's it's going to take some losses.
I like you're talking about this right now, and I love that saying, de ser como el amor no paga los biles or something. There was this story, I don't remember who, right? But there was this story where, and it was like, what type of partner would you want to have? You know, the partner where, especially right now, it's cold, it's rainy in Oklahoma, it's
freezing,
snowing, right? And it's like you love your spouse, and you could be like, just stay here, my love, cuddle. And it's like, what kind of partner do you want? Do you want the partner that is like, yes, I'll cancel my meetings, I'll stay here with you? Or the partner that kicks you off the bed and is like, we have stuff to do, like, let's get up and let's do it. So right now that you were saying about the marriage, yes, absolutely, because there's always going to be that unbalance. And what I wanted to say with that is that at the end of the day, when you prioritize, is because we understand that it will be worth it. Yes. You know, like, for example, if we need to focus on bettering our relationship, you know that the outcome on working on that, right, will be worth it. Yeah. And vice versa on any other, there's so many different areas we can improve.
Yeah, that's why it's important for us to just know we get to choose, right? Like, we can't be in that victim mind of just like, oh, this is where I'm at, because we're always going to have seasons in life. Like, the seasons in life will always come. It doesn't matter if if you're in one right now or you're just getting out of one. Like, there's going to be different seasons. So for me, you know, I feel like what I do is just, what is important to me right now? What can I work on right now? What can I manage on right now? And then go from there. If it's my business, then that's what it looks like. If it's my marriage, then I know that that's my priority, my value at the moment. But seasons change, and throughout the seasons, your priorities also change. So it's just like what you value the most that you could put your attention to, and that you could put all your effort to, and know that, you know, you're gonna get a result from there. And it's okay if you slack off somewhere else, because that's what you chose to prioritize. So what
has been like if you can give the girls an example, what has been a situation that you feel you've personally been at where you feel like, you know, my life was unbalanced? Well, it always is, right? But I chose this, and it was so worthwhile that I worked on it, because now that is able to like give recovery to other areas in my life.
Well, I could keep it practical. So so everyone who is watching, I'm sure this is a women's, you know, a podcast. I think something that's very relatable is obviously when you become a mom, it's your priority, right? It's something that I feel like that's where my priority was. So everything else was kind of slacking off, but I knew that for a certain amount of time, my whole attention was going to be on being a mom, a caregiver to my baby. So that is just a practical way of things that, you know, things happen in life that, you know, maybe in business, you know, you want to reach a next level in the business, and then you know that there's going to be some sacrifices that you have to make and put aside, because you chose to do the business, you know, you chose to do what's important to you and what you value the most. So for me, it was that, like, I was a first-time mom. We were in a whole new state. We had just moved to Oklahoma. And we didn't really know anyone. So for me, it was just like I was going to use that time to be the mom that I had to be for my firstborn. Yes. So that is just a practical way of
and knowing. That you actually had, you know, I think it's so amazing, right? That you actually also had the opportunity to be able to be home and be a mom without having to feel like, oh my goodness, like I have to go to work, or I have to, you know, do certain things because it's a must, right? It was like a lot of people, you know, have those boundaries where maybe you do have to go to work. So you're like, how can I be a mom when I have to go to work and I want to be with my 6-month baby, but I can't? And if that's your situation and you're listening, you know, we are here to be able to empower you, to tell you that that is the reason that you become a seeker of opportunities, right? And there's opportunities that are right in front of you. Like, sometimes we don't imagine the way our life is going to be, or doing things like I never imagined doing what I do today. I don't know if you thought like, oh, this is what I'm going to be. Like I never imagined that, right? Like, so sometimes we pray and we ask God for certain things, but it doesn't really look the way that we're asking them for. Like we want them to be at the time that we want them, the way that we want them, you know, and it's kind of like an easy door. And so if you're watching and you're like, I want to have an opportunity to be able to make my children a priority, or be a stay-at-home mom, or, you know, do certain things, know that there are opportunities for you today. And we're 2022, girl. We're about to be in 2023. Like there isn't just the one-way path for your finances, or the one-way path, you know, for you to have better relationships. You know, there's so many resources today, right, where we can seek and really improve ourselves to be the women that we want to be. So, you know, as we talk about this, Ara, and, you know, I can only imagine, right, you were in Oklahoma, not knowing nobody, new everything, basically, new surroundings, new environment. Brand new married.
A drastic transition in our lives.
Esa es otra historia. Because first year marriage, I mean, it isn't easy, you know, getting accustomed, you know, to a brand new person. If you really weren't living with them or anything like that, that's like something else. So what is it that for you has allowed you to remain calm through the storms, peaceful through the process? You know, it's been an 8 years of, you know, really empowering people, working with people, and at the same time, you know, building a family, building a business, building a life, and, you know, learning through the curveballs. So what do you say that would be that, you know, because at the end of the day, every time I speak with you, it's like there's a calmness and there's, you know, this peace that is behind you that you bring out, right? Like it's part of your personal character.
Well, I mean, I will say that it's definitely not, it's hard, you know, like there's no easy road to being like that, or, you know, just to be able to be in a storm and be calm. Like it's not easy, but I think for me is just doing this for 8 years, but really, like, I want to say maybe the last 4 years of my life, I feel like I've maybe just like took the initiative to start really growing myself the way I wanted to. The opportunity has always been there, and obviously, you know, I've put myself in positions of getting uncomfortable to get to where I want to be, because it's, I mean, you know me, you know, from the very beginning, like the first year of coming in, I was not maybe as bold or as courageous to like be a certain, like to be the person that I wanted to be. It took time to be to where I am today, right? So
I'm gonna pause you for a little bit. So when you say to be the person that I want to be, can you describe that, Ara, that you want to be?
Yes. So I mean, I'm still working on myself, right? You never stop growing and progressing, but for me, it's just really being confident in who I am and what I stand, you know, my values, my beliefs, my morals. I think for me that's important, and knowing that it doesn't matter what life throws at you or what opinions others have, because people will have opinions and storms will come, always. That's always going to be there, but it's important to know, for me, who I was, you know, and what I believe in. And I knew that no matter what came at me, that nothing will shake me, because I believe in who I am, and I know what I stand for. But that has taken time, you know. It's not easy. Like it's not as easy as it sounds, and I know that because I've experienced that. So I think it's really just being intentional with asking yourself, like, who do I want to be, you know, and what am I learning? What am I feeding myself? What am I listening to? What type of people am I surrounding myself with? Like, what do my friends look like? What people are empowering me? Like, you really have to ask yourself that question, because if not, it's so easy to be mediocre. I think that's the word, or just like
Shallow.
yeah, like just okay with, like, be like okay with what you're living at. And for me, I knew that I was meant for more. I didn't know what to do. So the first thing that I told myself is, I just need to work on myself, and everything else will come. You know, so yeah, I think just asking yourself those questions, you know, like, who do I want to be? You know, what am I learning? What am I listening to? Like, what am I, just who am I surrounding myself with? And that has really helped me become the person that I want to be, because it's not by, I can't do it by myself. And that's something that we all have to know. It's like, if you really want to take yourself to the next level as a person, you can't do it alone. You have to have someone with you. You know, you have to have someone that's holding you accountable. And for me, obviously, it's been Team Beauty. It's been, you know, having people like you that are better than me. And to even say that, like, some people are like, I don't want to be in a room with other people that are better than me, like, because there's pride, there's ego, there's so many things that people just don't talk about. But you have to get to that place of telling yourself, like, this person is better than me, and I want to surround myself with that person, because I know that that person's going to push me to my limits, you know, push me to do more. So yeah.
I think that's what gives you power, you know, that's what really puts you at that state of welcoming the next level of your life, when you're able to sit back, ask yourself these questions, and be like, you know, this is the person who I want to be and resemble, right? Not only, because I think at a lot of the times, I mean, if me and you can sit here and not talk empowering, not talk positive, and start talking our weaknesses, start talking about the things that we still need, that the things, I mean, we could have a list of, even you and I today sitting here, like, we could have a list of, like, still a lot of things that we personally want to improve on, and that comes at different levels. And so if you're listening to this, it's important that you do see yourself not only as you are, but more importantly, see ourselves as what we could be. I even get chills right now. Like, you know, how would that girl that you want to be like act? How would she make that decision? How would she, you know, walk into that room? How would she show up, right? Like, and that could truly affect choices, circumstances, you know, the next 3 months of your life. We were chatting earlier how I was watching a sermon that Stephen Furtick was sharing, and it's like all of these different areas of our life that we have: spiritual, family, marriage, fitness, health, business, you know, like friendships, you know, there's so many different areas. We're in December, Ara. New Year's is almost going to come around, right? We're going to start thinking about resolutions and like all of these things that we want to improve for 2023. And so where would you stand and say, like, okay, if you want to improve any of these areas, you know, what would you say that would be the 3 action steps that you would personally take to start, you know, number 1, prioritizing, and then secondly, right, taking action so things actually change?
Yeah. Well, I mean, you pretty much said it, right? You really do have to sit down and take action. You know, it's so easy to just sit back and say, well, this is what I want. Like, this is what I want to do, and this is where I want, you know, to focus on. But just like we've heard so many times, it's like what you focus on expands. And for you just have to ask yourself, like, what do I want my focus to go? And that could be either good or bad, right? So my action, you know, is prioritizing what is important to you, you know, and where do you want the next 5 years of your life to look like? Or not even the next 5. It could be like, how so much could happen in a year. So it's like, what do I want the next 6 months to look like? Because 6 months is enough time for you to make a change. And I think it's one, you have to be coachable to be able to tell yourself like, okay, like this is what I want to do. Because I learned something, that there's a difference between being teachable and being coachable. Being teachable is you're willing to learn, right? Like, I'm willing to learn. But being coachable is you're willing to change. And I learned that, and I want to be able to learn and to change. So you have to know, like, I want to be able to change, and taking your priorities and putting them as your action steps. Like, this is my priority. This is where I'm going to take action. This is my second priority. Now, after I'm done with this is where I want to, where the next 6 years of, or 6 months of my life, want to look like. So it's really just sitting down and asking yourself questions that maybe no one has ever asked you, or maybe you have never really asked yourself those questions, those tough questions that you're like, I don't even know what's going to happen tomorrow, but there's a scripture that says, people that don't have a vision perish, and you need to have a vision for your life, as an individual, as a family, as a marriage, as a mom, like your business. Where is it that you want to take your life? And you have the choice to do that. I think I heard this quote that says, the choices you make you. So, like, what choices are you making to get there? So.
Yes, and I think, to come here to an end, that as you're sharing all of this, maybe you're listening and you're thinking, okay, like, I need to prioritize. Let me grab my piece of paper, girl. I'm going to prioritize. And then some people, might feel that the weakest thing, maybe if you were to say, like, man, I'm really bad at making friends, or I'm really bad at this. Like, it doesn't mean that whatever you're a 2 at, for example, 1 being the worst, 10 being the best, right? Like, whatever I'm a 2 at, that's the one that I need to prioritize to make better. And that's not true, okay, by the way. No, it's, what is it that is truly going to change into the woman that you want to be? So as right now you were sharing, like, we have to have a vision in our home, for our family, your marriage, and then at the end of the day, and I think this is why Ara's story is so powerful, because you also have to have some of these goals are going to be intertwined where they improve each other. And then, I think your story is so powerful because you're like, wait, I'm also an individual. like I am a woman. So, like, what is Ara's priority, right? So as we're thinking about your, like my husband and I, for example, we're like, this is the year the kids need to be in extracurriculars. Like, that's going to be a priority, right? Like, my son loves basketball and he's already so into it. So, okay, at what time is that going to be? What days of the week? What are we willing to do, right? So we're thinking about that. But at the end of the day, where I'm getting at is, mom, okay, that is one area. Wife, that is an area. And then there's our self. That self part, right? Where is it inside of our priorities where it aligns with the vision that you have with your life to be able to make you feel 100%, to be the best mom, the best wife?
Yeah, you do. You really do have to put yourself as a priority before anything else. And the reason why I say that is because even, with your marriage or with your kids, if you want your kids to, or like just, talking about balance, how we were talking about, it's, if you want to really live that life of balancing, or just, how do I train my kids to just, live this life that we're living, it's, you have to put yourself first in order to give your best. I don't remember how this, I live by quotes, so I might be just saying so many quotes, but I love quotes. But there was this quote that I think it said something like you can't pour out when you haven't deposited in yourself. Like, you have to really you have to have set time to yourself to invest in yourself, and once you start investing in yourself, and once you start taking care of yourself and putting yourself first, and really just taking care of your health, your mental health. Like, it could be tough being a mom, being a wife, owning a business, like growing a family. All of those things are important, but it's hard. I'm not here to say like, oh, it's been an easy journey, because it really hasn't. But one thing I've learned is you need to put yourself first in order to be able to take care of your husband, of your kids, of your business, of your friendships. Because if you don't take care of yourself first, then how can you love the rest, when you're not really loving yourself first? And even with our kids, like, I want to be able to give our kids, security and safety and all of that. But that comes from loving myself first, and then my marriage. Like, they're gonna see kids. Obviously, they're like sponges. They see everything, right? So for us, it's like we want to take care of ourselves first, our marriage, our whatever it is, maybe it's you, like your mental health or something. You want to be able to do that first, and then from there, everything else will just come to you, because you're doing the necessary thing of just taking care of yourself first.
Yes, I agree. So if there's anything that you would tell the girls this week for them to take action on, they're like, okay, I need to get this going before January 1st, right? Because you don't want to wait for January 1st to start thinking about resolutions. You've been listening to the podcast, you've been getting some value, you've been, truly getting some things in. So, Ara, what would you say, are some of the things that you would tip the girls to be like, okay, if you want to get started on making some shifts and changes, what would that be?
That's a good question. There's so many things that I wish we could really sit down and talk about, but for me, I would say is going back to just asking yourself tough questions that maybe you don't even realize that are there. So sitting down and just asking yourself those questions, not being afraid of getting uncomfortable. For me, it was a lot of getting uncomfortable to get to where you want to be. So do the hard things, do it afraid, do the hard things. Everything is hard, so you choose your hard, and knowing that it's not the end. Like, in life, there's not a destination, it's a journey, and you just have to know that you're in a journey, and you're always gonna be succeeding and failing, and learning and growing, and it's part of it. And I think the last 8 years of just being in this business and surrounding myself with so many awesome women and so many awesome people, and this is that that you're always going to be learning and growing, and don't be afraid to it's okay if you don't know it all. It's okay if you don't know it all. You take the responsibility of, hey, like, this is, I don't like how I look right now, how I think right now, how I feel right now. What do I need to do to change it? Because we have that power to just change what we need to do, what we need to change.
I think that if you're listening right now is a moment to be like, breathe in, breathe out, because, definitely you gave a lot of value to our girls today after this amazing podcast. And remember that this journey, right, is determined truly by what we begin learning, and then, what we start practicing as we're learning. So, Ara, thank you so much for coming on here. Congratulations. You've done your very first podcast.
It was my first podcast. I enjoyed being here. It was fun.
And it's not going to be the last. This concludes episode 10 of our 12-week series, and we cannot wait to see you next week. Remember, if you found value in the things that you've listened to, what you heard today, make sure to tag us at Team Beauty Official on Instagram, share it on your stories, tag your friends, and we will